Good evening and welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us to celebrate and support the Washington English Center. My name is Mary Douglas. I'm on the board of directors and I'm co-chair of this spring event with Joan Kerrigan. We have some wonderful videos and engaging talks for you tonight. But first, we want to recognize and thank all of our unbelievably generous supporters. So many of you have provided vital financial support to WEC over the years. Please know how deeply we appreciate each and every contribution. Some of you are or have been volunteer teachers or job counselors or tutors. Your dedication, creativity, patience, and energy are the backbone of WEC. And many of our teachers have gamely and enthusiastically plunged into our new online teaching model. We are so grateful to all of you. Joan and I want to give a special shout out to our wonderful major corporate sponsors: Kehomac, Clark Construction, Kazemi Oral Surgery and Dental Implants, Morgan Stanley, and Savant Capital.
Last November, when we chose the theme for our spring benefit, the phrase, "Now more than ever, immigrants need a helping hand," seemed an apt recognition of the increasing challenges that immigrants have faced in the last several years. Little did we know that now more than ever would take on a whole different meaning by mid-March. At that time, WEC shut its doors and ended classroom teaching in order to protect the community from the spread of the coronavirus. If the pandemic had occurred 25 years ago, it might very well have been the death knell for WEC. Fortunately, now we have the internet. And thanks to the creativity, determination, and optimistic spirit of our amazing staff, we pivoted to an online model of teaching within the space of a month. Our executive director, John Odenwelder, had been with WEC only a couple of months before the job he signed up for essentially exploded. John showed his remarkable strengths as a leader as he and the staff sprang into action.
In fact, the WEC staff proved to be astoundingly flexible and adaptable in the face of the challenges caused by the coronavirus. Our restructured curriculum is working smoothly and now serves more than 250 students, including students physically located in Chile, Colombia, Russia, South Korea, and Brazil. And speaking as a teacher, I have noticed that online teaching even has certain advantages. Working one-on-one with a student online enables me to find out more about them and to respond to their individual interests. For instance, my intermediate level student from Japan loves to cook and bake. When she said that her recipe required her to mix an egg, I was able to retrieve an egg beater from the kitchen. We then talked about different cooking terms, such as beating eggs and stirring or mixing ingredients with a spoon. Of course, it will be wonderful, absolutely wonderful, to eventually return to teaching in the classroom. But in the meantime, we have opened whole new possibilities for additional ways to reach our students.
The crisis has taught us that regardless of format, teachers at WEC love to teach and students want to learn. WEC staff and volunteers are focused, flexible, and adaptable, and they will surmount every obstacle to enable that learning to happen. Again, we are so grateful to all of you who support WEC. Even in the face of the current crisis, you continue to believe in the immigrant dream, and you continue to believe with us that learning English is fundamental to realizing that dream. So thank you all for nurturing the hopes of immigrants and for supporting so generously their learning and their successful assimilation into our community. We salute you. If we were together in person without this devastating virus, we on the board and the staff could give you hugs and handshakes. But for the moment, we can only offer our deep gratitude, blow you a kiss, and raise a glass in your honor.
Over 240 teachers volunteer their time at Washington English Center to teach our students. It's impossible not to be proud of the commitment and passion they show every day. Our students are the reflection of the effort and dedication to learn a new language, to improve themselves and contribute to their communities. It's hard to move to another country and adapt to a new culture. That is why we offer our students scholarships to help those in need. Also, through our student services, we offer employment assistance and connect them to other organizations in our community. We do all this because we believe in the power of education and being prepared for a better future. Washington English Center is a reflection of adaptability. During these hard times, our staff has transitioned to an online format to continue to provide our students with English lessons. It is the first time we do this, and we're proud to say that we did it. We are proud of our staff, volunteer teachers, and students. We have all worked hard to build this organization. Thank you for being part of this family and improving the lives of immigrants.
Good evening. My name is John Odenwelder, and I'm the Executive Director of Washington English Center. Throughout the lockdown, the WEC staff have been meeting periodically for what I've dubbed a flash meeting. Never more than 15 minutes long, each meeting provides an opportunity to see each other's faces and to hear voices, to check in on our coworkers' states of mind, and to share what books we're reading, what TV shows we're binge watching during lockdown, or even YouTube videos that made us laugh that week. One funny video was filmed by a woman playing the role of her current self, traveling back in time to visit her pre-lockdown self, who had no idea what was coming. Her helpful advice from the future included things like stock up on toilet paper, get a haircut while you still can, and my favorite, buy stock in Zoom. I remember thinking at the time that it was a clever video. When I was preparing my remarks tonight, I thought back to my first day at WEC on January 6th of this year. If a visitor from the future had appeared in my office to say that in less than 10 weeks, WEC would close its doors in response to a global pandemic, I would have been incredulous. But if the same time traveler went on to tell me that a mere 6 weeks after that, this staff and this set of volunteers would have completely retooled, that WEC would be launching its first ever virtual term to continue fulfilling its mission, well, now that I would have believed. No nonprofit survives for over a quarter century without a little adaptability. Along with kindness, empathy, diversity and inclusion, and respect, adaptability is one of the core values of Washington English Center. And boy, have we put this particular value into practice over the last 2 months. Since WEC closed its doors on March 12th, we've worked harder than ever, each from our own home, wrapping up the winter term, applying for emergency funds, using social media to keep spirits up and communicate important news. But I'm most proud of the fact that we figured out a way to ease into an online teaching format simple enough to succeed, given communication and technological hurdles. So many of our volunteers had never taught virtually, and most of our students had never learned virtually. We needed to train them on how to use new technology using, you guessed it, technology. And we had to do it mostly in English, the very language our students were seeking to learn. Such a thing would be extraordinary if we could somehow pull it off. You know, I've been going into WEC once a week to pick up our mail and water the plants. By the way, WEC has lots of plants. The first time I walked back in those empty halls alone, I was overcome with sadness. During my first weeks on the job, my favorite things were watching teachers prep before class in the volunteer office and listening to students speak English with each other by the vending machine outside my office door. It struck me as extraordinary that in the space of just 1 week, this place had gone from a veritable beehive of activity to an echo chamber, a veritable cone of silence. But then spring term began, and what struck me as extraordinary was suddenly just how ordinary things began to seem again. Teachers prepping and meeting with students day, night, weekend, 500 hours of instruction each week, reporting back to us in the form of class logs and student emails that seemed so familiar. Here are just a few of those snippets that I'd like to share. First, thank you for working so hard to make this semester happen for the students, and thank you for your support of the volunteer teachers. I've found the guidelines for conversation tutoring to be so helpful. The 15-minute video was great. I'm feeling prepared. I'm really looking forward to seeing my student online tomorrow morning. And from a student, today's conversation was very good for me because I had many opportunities to speak English. I am shy, so I couldn't speak in English class, but today I could speak more than in English class. I had a really good time. I will keep trying my best. I will do my homework. See you next week. Stay safe. And then a teacher. Again, I had a terrific first class with ND this morning. We introduced ourselves and talked about our backgrounds. We talked about her goals for the sessions and what we will focus on in class. She also showed me a book that she wants to read in English, so she may bring questions from that book to class as well. Another teacher. I just had my second session with MH. She's a stay-at-home mom to an almost toddler, which keeps her hands full most of the day. This is her second term, and while she loves the student interaction, she's quite happy to have this virtual session. She and her husband recently moved further outside of the city, so the commute would have likely stopped her from attending this term. She hopes that we will continue offering virtual learning in the future. And finally, from a student, I use words practiced today to write sentences as follows. I have spent much time in studying English. Nevertheless, I only speak simple English so far. I doubt if I further improve my English. Today, my tutor taught me a sentence. Never say never. Never say never. Someday I could speak English fluently. Never say never, indeed. Just another normal week at WEC. Teachers teaching, students learning. Never say that a global pandemic stood in the way of what the WEC community had set its mind to achieve. This is why we are gathered here tonight to celebrate our nimbleness, our perseverance, and our collective adaptability. Congratulations, everyone.
Hi everybody, I'm Ben. I'm a first-time volunteer with the Washington English Center. I was expecting to teach a citizenship class this semester for the first time, but as you know, things changed and that didn't quite work out, but I was delighted to be able to start helping to teach English in our new one-on-one settings, which I admit I was a little skeptical about at first, but I think have been really terrific and really helpful and actually enabled me and my student to get to know each other better than I think we maybe would have in a larger classroom. It's been a great opportunity to talk in English and learn more about his time in Chile and our family's education systems, TV shows, books. All in all, just been a great experience. I can't wait to volunteer again next semester, and hopefully once all this passes, look forward to getting back into a classroom. But for the time being, thanks to the Washington English Center for helping to match me and students and volunteers like me and other students across the region and the country. So good luck with everything, and I can't wait to see what happens next semester.
Thank you, Ben, for sharing your story with the Washington English Center community. We're so glad that you were still game to volunteer with us, even after this term became something different than what you originally signed up for. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jessie, and I'm on the academic programs team staff here at WEC. I'll let the rest of the academic programs team introduce themselves now.
Hi, everyone. This is Danny Snyder.
Hi, Siritza Borrego.
And do we have Shiva here?
Yeah, this is Shiva. Hey.
So at Academic Programs, the four of us, me, Shiva, Danny, and Yuritsa, are the staff who work the most closely with volunteers. And we wanted to show our gratitude for the incredible adaptability that we have witnessed this term. And so we created another video to show how WC volunteers have risen to the challenges of the past 2 months. And that's right, it's just been 2 months. So in our video, we use a timeline to show just how quickly everyone has adapted and to highlight just a few of the many amazing stories from this term. Please feel free to also share your stories in the chat. We'd love to hear them. And now for the video.
We just want to say thank you.
Washington English Center makes the difficult decision to end its winter term classes 2 weeks early due to COVID-19. Despite the challenging circumstances, everyone in the WC community is quick to adapt.
Teaching teams come together virtually to fill out the rubric and enter that data into Proactive.
Volunteers receive an email explaining that the spring term will be virtual. Within minutes, volunteers start filling out the new sign-up form. Since then, almost 300 volunteers have signed up, and counting. Volunteers adapt from teaching a class in person with a textbook to offering individualized instruction to one student over a computer. Volunteers are ready to learn and complete training on teaching and technology to prepare for the launch of the term.
On April 20th, the virtual term begins, and our volunteers adapt to tech challenges and the individualized needs of our students, all from the comfort of their home.
A volunteer uses a saw to teach idioms.
A volunteer and a student do a role-playing exercise about going to the store and buying face masks.
Despite training and practice, there are some technical difficulties on the first day of class. Volunteers who can't reach students via Google Hangouts resort to other apps, like WhatsApp, Zoom, and phone calls. They reschedule classes as necessary, and they look up on troubleshooting tips for next time. Adaptability and problem solving is on display.
A volunteer teaches a student to order at a restaurant and shop for makeup at Sephora.
A tutor teaches her student to describe the Mona Lisa and other paintings using English.
Tonight is an opportunity for us to express our gratitude. So we all want to say thank you for everyone who has helped WEC continue its mission during the pandemic. Cheers to the Washington English Center.
To our volunteers, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Davila. I was a student at the Washington English Center, and right now I am part of the Student Services team. I am very proud to be part of this family and the positive impact we have in our community. I know how hard it is to move to another country and how important it is to find support from places like us. I moved to the US from Venezuela 2 years ago. I have to leave for political reasons. When I moved here, I couldn't say a word in English, but Washington English Center helped me with my English, with my first job, helped me with everything. At this moment, Washington English Center continues to work for our students and our community because we believe them. At Washington English Center, I manage the social media account. I am very excited to see how engagement increases every day. We know these tools as a great way to connect with our students. For this event, I have the honor to prepare the video where Ben, Alice, and Maricela shared their experiences as the teacher or students. It's incredible how much love and passion we have from our volunteers and students. I am very proud to be part of this team. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Maricela Castillo. I am a journalist from Venezuela. I am living in Washington, D.C. since 2018. When I moved to the United States, I didn't speak English, not a word, nothing. When I moved here, a friend of mine asked me, Maricela, do you really want to learn English? And I say, yes, of course, I need it. I want to because I am living here and I need to express myself. I need to communicate my ideas. So she told me, you know what? You should call Washington English Center. And I did it. I called you and you gave me all the information. And then I took the decision, I made the decision to starting classes with you. And one of the main reasons that I took the decision is that I could afford them, because in that time I didn't have a job, so I couldn't spend a lot of money paying expensive English classes. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the work that you are doing, because when you move to another country, you left your home, your house, your family, your friends. You left everything that you have in your life. And you are in another country different than yours, and you don't have your family with you, you don't have your friends with you, and you're alone. So when you find an institution like Washington English Center that supports you to help, that it's an institution that helps you to achieve your goals, like in my case is to speak English, I really appreciate that, and I mean it. All the volunteers teachers teach with love, with patience, and with respect. And all the team working at WEC are amazing. Thank you for all the work that you are doing.
Hi everyone, my name is Alana Gorelick. I am the chair of the Washington English Center Associate Board, and I have been volunteering with the Washington English Center for about 5 years.
And hi everybody, I'm Chris Hart. I'm the secretary of the Associate Board, and I've also been volunteering with WEC for about 5 years.
It isn't very common for nonprofits to have what we call a big board, the one led by Liz Tisdale, and an associate board. But this structure is part of what makes the Washington English Center so unique and effective. The associate board is made up of 15 volunteers, primarily Washington English Center teachers, but we have also enjoyed participations from students in the past and hope to have more in the future. We have a variety of different experiences and skills to contribute, but we are all bonded together by our commitment and drive to help build a community for immigrants. Having two boards has allowed the Washington English Center to maximize its outreach and brings additional skills to enable the WEC to succeed. The associate board members are typically young professionals who bring outside experience with fundraising, data analytics, and other tools to further the mission of the Washington English Center. We contribute in many ways, but mainly focus on helping to fundraise through events that bring in donors from all different sizes, and raise awareness of the Washington English Center for new students and teacher recruitment. I'll turn to Chris now to talk a little bit more about our operations.
Thanks, Alana. So the Associate Board is in its 6th year of supporting WEC now, and throughout that time, we've looked for creative ways to contribute. We've hosted and enjoyed karaoke nights, dinners at Shake Shack, and exercise classes, all to benefit WEC. And some of those classes are hard, let me tell you. And the best thing about these events is that they are fun and accessible. They introduce new people to WEC, and we raise money mainly through small donations, which are just as important as large donations. We also help lead WEC's Giving Tuesday efforts. Giving Tuesday is a worldwide day of generosity held annually the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, using social media to encourage donations. Giving Tuesday is another opportunity for donors to contribute any amount they feel comfortable with, and it's also an opportunity where we encourage donors to set up recurring, sustaining donations that support us throughout the year. So I want to say a special thank you again on behalf of the Associate Board to all of our donors, but especially those who are able to give even just a small amount. Every dollar matters, and we are so grateful for your support. And although we may not be able to host the events that we're used to at the moment, we look forward to seeing you at a future Associate Board event. Now we have a short video to share from one of our Associate Board members and also a WEC teacher, Allison Kirsch.
Having virtual class this semester has been really awesome. I've been getting to know my student better than I ever would one-on-one than I would in class. So it's been really fun. I'm learning a lot about Japanese culture, and we are sharing articles every week to talk about, which has been really fun and giving us some new conversation. And she's even been able to meet my cat, which has been, fun for everyone. So it's been great. Thanks so much for making sure this happens this semester and giving us something that we can all look forward to making connections while we're still at home.
Thank you, Allison. Good evening, everybody. I'm Liz Tisdale, and it's my privilege and honor to address you on behalf of what Alana call us, the big board of directors. So here we are to gather and celebrate in a virtual world. Who would have thought that we'd be doing this 2 months ago? As I gaze out at all of you participants, I can honestly say, you look really wonderful, at least from the waist up. And we couldn't be happier that you cared enough to join us. You are here because you support our mission to improve the lives of adult immigrants through education. You believe that all immigrants should have the support they need to build a better future for themselves and for their families. So thank you. Thank you to the staff, the students, and all of you volunteers. Thank you to our friends and families, our corporate sponsors. Thank you to those of you who have supported us in so many ways. We are incredibly grateful because our need, just like so many other organizations, is as great as it's ever been. To our creative event co-chairs, Joan and Mary, and staff members who turned a well-planned event for tonight at Arena Stage, into a virtual celebration. And lastly, I want to thank my fellow board members. This incredible group of individuals don't just show up at monthly meetings and grab a donut and wait for the next one. Like our emeritus board members before us, we bring a wide variety of experience from our various backgrounds in nonprofit leadership, development, finance, law, technology, communications, government affairs, immigrant rights, and education, just to name a few. Many of us, like myself, were volunteer teachers at WEC before joining the board. Others are currently full-time employees who came to us through professional board matching services. So we plan our committee meetings to fit into their already demanding schedules. Our most important roles are to work with the executive director to set the direction of the organization, the strategic direction, and to ensure its sustainability, and to hire and support the executive director. And that may roll off the tongue pretty quickly, but that kind of collaboration and effort requires a dedicated team that works extremely well together. And we do. And I am so proud to call them my friends. Searching for a new executive director was no easy task and not one to be rushed into. To allow for adequate time, just checking here. To allow for adequate time for our, what I call search and seizure, we actually hired our first ever interim ED, and oh, that took several interviews as well. And in our world where grantors fund less and less every year, each board member knows the importance of individual and corporate donors. We pride ourselves on 100% board participation in WEC funding. We shake our family trees and appeal to our neighbors and friends at least twice a year. And if we have the personal corporate connections, we make sure they know about Washington English Center and how their support can keep our programs alive. No one is off limits. And let's not forget that some of these organizations have even hired our students. So thank you, board. You are one heck of a fine band of brothers and sisters. So now I'd like to move on to the crazy world as we know it today. We can agree that life has been pretty weird in so many ways for most of us. And I have to tell you quickly what happened the other day that made me laugh out loud. My mother called me to tell me that she just watched the Kentucky Derby on TV and that this amazing horse named American Pharoah took the lead out of the gates and beat all the other horses to the finish line. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that that particular Kentucky Derby race was run 5 years ago. Sorry, Mom, no live sports these days. But seriously, this pandemic has changed our world in ways we could not have imagined. As you know, we've all had to quickly adapt, and it's truly critical that we continue to do so as we carry on into this uncertain future. But let's not forget, unforeseen challenges can bring opportunities. And for Washington English Center, doing nothing was not an option. Less than 2 months ago, before all hell broke loose, we hired John Odenwelder as our new ED. His leadership skills, his nonprofit experience, his ability to quickly assess situations and make sound decisions are just what we really need right now. Plus, he does have a delightful sense of humor. So while many of us were trying to find toilet paper and hand sanitizer, John and his staff let their creative juices run just like racehorses, and they created our virtual program. Our hats off to our volunteer teachers, some who've had to overcome virtual phobia. They've been well-trained and ready to take the reins. And thank goodness for the students, near or far, who trust that with improved English literacy, their lives will be better. Better employment opportunities, better community engagement, better conversations, especially now with their children's teachers, with their landlords and nurses and doctors. Lessons learned from this experience will guide us as we consider our future looking beyond the pandemic. You never really know what you are capable of until you're tested. So thank you, everyone, staff, volunteer, students, and donors, for your willingness to quickly adapt to a strange new world. Please stay adaptable with us as we see what next unfolds. So I'm going to leave you with 3 thoughts during this crazy time in which we live. First, believe in the goodness of mankind. 2, know that this will pass. And last, please, never get on a racehorse.
Liz, I thought we agreed no more horse jokes. I have to interrupt and share some good news. I'm delighted to report that with the donations that rolled in this morning that we have met our goal. As a result of everyone's generosity, we'll be getting the full $15,000 matching gift. So thank you, everyone. While it's true that we brought in a bit less than our pre-pandemic goal, it's important to note we also don't have the cost this year for catering or to rent the arena stage. So ironically, when you figure in those savings, we will end up netting more than we originally planned for the bottom line and for the programs that WEC runs in this community.
Well, hooray! This is wonderful. Hooray, hooray. So in other words, we can keep our virtual doors open and our learning alive at Washington English Center. Thank you everyone for your generous donations and for being really good cheap dates tonight. Because of your generosity and the fact that you were willing to BYOB, we achieved our goal. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right, well, it comes to me to close us out, and I just want to close with some thank yous. First of all, I want to thank everyone for carving out the time this evening to attend our party. We weren't sure how it was going to go, and knock wood, it's gone off without a hitch. Thank you for getting here on Zoom without major technical glitches. Talk about adaptability. I want to talk to our donors and thank them all. A special shout out to Kehoe Mac for inspiring us all with a $10,000 match grant just when we needed it. And thank you to our other major corporate sponsors, Clark Construction, Kazemi Oral Surgery and Dental Implants, Morgan Stanley, and Savant Capital. As earlier speakers pointed out, no gift is too small. My own mom started giving a monthly recurring gift shortly after I joined WEC. She's a retired school teacher, and she said, "Honey, I wish I could give you so much more." And I know she does, but it makes me feel so good to see her name pop up on the third day of every month with her donation. We love and appreciate our donors of all sizes. Now, thank you to our teachers and our tutors, as well as those who volunteer in the library, in the language lab. I saw you on there, as employment counselors and around the office. Hi, Ruth. You are the lifeblood of this organization. The entire staff adds up to less than 9 full-time equivalents. We could not serve hundreds each term and thousands each year without the time and talents of our many volunteers. And there's some other types of volunteers who need thanking. The folks on our board of directors and our associate board. Thank you, Liz Tisdale, Alana, and Chris for speaking so eloquently about how these two groups are critical to our success. We're grateful to every member of these boards, and a special heartfelt thank you to Mary Douglas and Joan Kerrigan for their amazing work planning a live event that successfully morphed into tonight's Zoom party. There is a third board that doesn't get much press, a group of adult education and ESOL academics and professionals led by Brock Brady of the Peace Corps. This academic advisory board has been critical in supporting the formulation of the online teaching approach. In fact, it is Brock's own video on distance teaching methodology that has been used to train our volunteers for this virtual term. And now, if you'll indulge me, I want to thank the members of the amazing WEC staff. Jesse Eversol, leading the academic programs team of Shiva Harris and Danny Snyder to essentially reinvent our teaching model, and Eurissa Abrego to recruit and shepherd our volunteers into this new virtual world. Liz Daly, Director of Development and Communications, redoubled her efforts on foundation grants and emergency funding while creating a virtual spring fundraising campaign that was a resounding success. Renee McKee, leading the student services team of Natalie Hernandez, Claudia Beloso, and Sara Davila to recruit and register students, some of whom, for the very first time in WEC's history, are learning from us remotely from overseas. And Operations Manager Chris Griffith, the voice in the booth tonight, wrestled with our sometimes creaky IT and payment platforms to make all the necessary changes possible for the virtual term, while ensuring that our books stayed balanced and our bills were paid on time. This is a smart, scrappy, professional, mission-driven team, the likes of which I have never seen in my nonprofit career. And they are getting it done. So thank you to the staff. While everyone on the team has played an important role in this evening's event, I want to particularly thank writer and director Liz Daly, executive producer Chris Griffith, and director of cinematography Sara Davila for making tonight's broadcast happen so smoothly. They all deserve Emmy nominations for their roles in this production. And last, but certainly not least, I want to thank our students who are at this event and those who aren't. I want you to know that we understand you embarked on a journey to a new country with a new culture and a new language. That by itself is scary. But now you're also bravely embracing new technology platforms in your continued quest to learn English. Your adaptability inspires us all. You are the reason that the rest of us became involved with WEC in the first place, and you're the reason that we continue to serve. We all believe in the power of education to improve the lives of immigrants. We're committed to continuing our mission in person, over video, by email, or by carrier pigeon, if that's what it takes. Now, more than ever, we will do all we can to support you in your journeys. Thank you, everyone, and good night.